Good evening, you guys, and welcome back to another live stream here at Sergeant Tank Pets on the YouTube channel. Tonight, we're going to be going over a Breeders' Award program through like a local fish club. So we'll be spending some time this evening. I'll be showing you guys a few outlines through our own club and some few key points that go along with that. So hopefully you guys can sit back and enjoy and find this informative. So you can check out our repertoire of videos with regard to the importance of joining a local club if you have one in your area. So I have covered that in great detail, and I've even covered the Breeders' Award program and HAP in a previous live stream as well, so you can also check that out. The first thing here is the purpose. So without going through everything, you guys can read it there as well. More or less, as I was saying, it's to encourage members to get involved into different aspects of ornamental fish breeding, aquatic life, to get a better understanding of knowledge and experience and diversification, the different ways for which one can essentially accomplish, but maybe you might be able to accomplish that same breeding a little bit faster by maybe switching things up. So that's where this information, what you're ultimately doing is logging, and I would encourage you guys to log and take detailed notes when you're breeding to not only water chemistry, anywhere from your pH to your carbonate hardness to your general hardness to your alkalinity, that type of stuff, as much information as you can, because we will be getting into the point of having to actually write an article for that club, and most will require this, specifically our club, in order to obtain the actual award, which we'll get into a little bit later on. Here we're going to spend a little bit more time because this is the majority of the information that you would need to know, specifically when it comes to how you obtain your points. There's a lot of confusion when it comes to this, and anybody new, if you're not even a part of a club, I can understand the confusion can be even a little bit more confusing. So that's why I want to break it down, try to make it as clear as possible for you guys, so you walk away with a better understanding from when you came in. So the first thing here is each spawn will be awarded 1 point per spawning, regardless of genus or species. So what that means is you have to have a certain amount of offspring at a certain amount of time post hatching. Basically, once they're free swimming is the easiest way to look at it. So you're not getting 1 point per fish that's bagged and you brought in for points to be entered in for the award program. What you have to have, and I'm tying this now together, and we'll actually be scrolling down and look at that here, but you have to have 6 fish of that same species. So let's use rainbow fish as an example. Let's say you're breeding some Melitania species. You have to have obtained and successfully raised 60 days. So I want to make that very clear. It has to be 60 days after they're free swimming. And it has to be 6 of that same species. So let's say you had a brood of 10. Unfortunately, week and 2 goes by, and now you only end up noticing you have 4 survivors or 6 survivors. Unfortunately, you're going to have to continue to breed to meet that requirement. So you would have to get another spawn, raise those up, again, that 60-day requirement, because that 60-day is a critical time frame, because for especially a lot of non-live bearing species, take a long time to rear, to raise, to get fattened up enough to go ahead and be appropriate amount of size to go ahead and enter in. And there is some variables in there. some species really do take a long time, and it wouldn't even be necessarily an ample amount of time, even in 60 days, to feel comfortable enough. I know for myself personally to be bringing in and providing anything, because my biggest goal, and I feel that should be for anybody that's doing this program, is to ensure when you're entering this stuff in, once you auction the stuff off, which we will get to, and somebody else now acquires that, you want to make sure that they have success and not have failures. So if you're bringing in something that is quite sensitive due to the fact that it still really needs to develop more size and age, then I would suggest and encourage you to go ahead and hold off until it's appropriate to do that. So a certificate will be awarded upon accumulation of 10 points. So what that means is, again, using that rainbow fish as an example. So once you've entered in and it's been approved through the through that committee or through the designated chairman of the BAP program, and now you went ahead and entered it in. Again, it has to be at least 60 days old, and then you can go ahead and now obtain 1 point for that bag of fish. So I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page here. It's not 1 point per fish of that same species. So hopefully that makes sense. And to receive each award requires 1 article to be turned into the GVAC editor. So again, if you are a paid member of the Grand Valley Aquarium Club, what we require as a club is you to submit an article, usually by, I would say, October, November at the latest of each year, based on a certain breeding of species. Whatever you feel comfortable doing, you have to submit it in order to actually receive the award, because you really want to validate your success. And validating your success is not just bringing in a bag of fish, especially if you're breeding multiple species. It's really trying to encourage the member of the club to start sharing some of that knowledge and that experience with other folks, through something such as an article. And plus, you can feel honored that your information would be considered to even be entered into an article. A lot of people would pride themselves in that. So that's also an awesome opportunity as well. And it's just reiterating, each article must be suitable for publication on aquarium-related topic. Article turn-ins must be up to date in order to qualify for special awards. And then it goes through the breakdowns and the tiers, as we talked about a little bit earlier on, as far as certificates or plaques be awarded to breeders in the following categories. So breeder level 1, basically this is the beginner level, is another way to look at it. So anywhere from 1 to 40 points, you would still be in that first tier. The expert breeder tier is anywhere between 50 and 90 points. The master breeder tier would be anywhere between 100 and 300 points. And the grandmaster tier would be anywhere between 350 and 400 points. So yes, very simple math. You're probably thinking to yourself, Jeremy, you're telling me I need to breed 50 different species of at least 6 of that same species in order to get myself into an expert breeder? Absolutely. It takes years for people to actually get to these tiers. Some people have more aggressive goals than others. So the Rookie of the Year is an award given to a breeder award program participant who successfully spawns and BAPs the most fish in a 12-month from January through December of a given year. The award will be given, which we have a Christmas party on the second Saturday of each December. For us, each club may be different in how they go about doing this. This is the way ours does it. We'll include only those participants who eligibility ends at the end of the year. All participants of any age are eligible for the Rookie of the Year award. In case of a tie, those tie will each receive an award, which is nice. So it's not like a coin toss. Or a coin toss, I'm sorry. Members are eligible for Rookie of the Year until they receive their first award, 10 spawn plaque, Rookie of the Year, Breeder of the Year, etc. The Breeder of the Year, an award will be given to the participant who has the highest BAP Breeders Award Program point total in any given calendar year. The award will be given at the Christmas party in case of a tie, and then just reemphasizes what I already mentioned. And now the Diversification Award. I'm actually going to come back to the Diversification Award here in a few minutes. Continue BAP rules and program definitions. I'm just going to reiterate some of the other things I've already pointed out. A fish may only be turned in once for points by any one participant. Both species and subspecies of a fish in the genus that are recognized as naturally occurring are accepted and given full points. So if you guys have been following along in other live streams where I talked about this, you will know and most likely recall that once you BAP'd a specific species of fish, that you cannot re-enter that into BAP. That will forever be on your record. The name of the fish scientifically is recognized as a genus. So kind of look at that as a family. The species and subspecies. A subspecies, as accepted by the BAP committee, is naturally occurring population different from another subspecies only in color and geographic location. Subspecies is recognized by the BAP program as those found in publications acceptable to the BAP chairs. If the scientific community later recognizes the fish subspecies to be truly different species, or the taxonomic names are changed, and BAP committee will reclassify each animal appropriately. So what they're saying there is if it comes to be later on in time that there is any mix-ups, for another way to look at it, there is an opportunity to actually go through and then have that reclassified. And on the flip side of that, if you end up turning something in and it's too small, and really you're taking, in a sense, you know, we know how things can change before our own eyes. You know, we've all been there where we feel in our gut, you know, 100%, and we get something at juvenile size and realize, hey, wait a minute here, this isn't specifically that exact species. So keep that in mind as well. I mean, if things came back, which usually doesn't happen, but I'm just mentioning that there's always opportunity where any discrepancies that would tie into that as well will go ahead and at some point be addressed. All fish must be registered by scientific name. If you know that the scientific name has changed recently, add all previous names to the BAP report that you know used to be called by. Again, already talked about this, but it's just mentioning as far as eggs must be obtained from your own spawn and not purchased from another outside. So that ties into the question there with regard to the fish not being bred by yourself. So yes, you have to not only with you can't just obtain some eggs and then hatch them out and consider that. That's not the way it works. The whole purpose is from start to finish. So you would have to obtain the fish, you would have to spawn that fish, and then go ahead and BAP it. So hopefully that makes sense. Pretty straightforward there. Any paid member is eligible to participate in the program. Each spawn would be worth 1 point regardless of difficulty. To receive points for a fish, 6 fry at least 60 days post-hatch must be auctioned at either the monthly meeting or any GVAC auction. So what they're saying is, in order to be eligible to actually submit this for your points, you have to auction it off. And if you want to do a full donation to the club or your split ratio, whatever that is, with ours, it's a 70-30. So we, as members, get a 70%, the club gets 30%. Each spawn must be registered by filling out a BAP report or a BAP form that is signed by a participant witness and turned into one of the BAP chairpersons, which I talked a little bit about earlier on. The participating members are responsible for obtaining, completing, turning in all forms required for participation. Transferring a BAP species is permitted. Each BAP species is worth 1 point. Awards will not be given for transfer points to achieve awards. Disputes will be settled by a BAP committee with whom the final authority resides. We'll talk about transferring of BAP points here in a few minutes. Let's go back up here to that form. So let me go back here to the BAP form. So this is what the forms look like here through our club, which may be similar to other clubs. Is here, this is for the HAP program. Here's for the BAP program. So you essentially use the same here, and then these are your different through vegetative, flowering, and sexual. So I'm not going to get into HAP. I'll do a different live stream on HAP in the future. But the BAP is where you would put your first and last name, the species name here on this line, common name, the date, and then this would be date witnessed again by that chairman, and then also initialed with a witness. And then you could donate if you wanted to. So pretty self-explanatory there. Transferring of BAP points from another club to club's program. So all species are transferable to the GVAP program as they apply to our point system. So just putting emphasis again on the areas for which we covered. The participant is responsible for obtaining their own records from previous clubs, programs, chairperson with that person's phone number, email address, so they can just verify it. In order to receive awards for transferring points, the correct number of articles must be turned in for possible publication. These articles may be ones previously written. Let's see here. I'm sorry, I lost my place. Previously written for other publications by the participant. Transfer points do not apply towards Breeder of the Year or Rookie of the Year Diversification or Diversification Award. Transfer points do not apply toward book points. Diversification Award. What this is an award given to a participant who Breeders' Award Program or BAPT for your points, at least one species from each of the following categories, which is a cichlid, a catfish, a goby, a livebearer, a killifish, a kerrison, anabantid, and a rainbow fish. So that's very important to understand each one of those. And then regular BAP rules are to be followed. So it doesn't change the BAP rules and criteria. And an article turn-in must be up to date for this award. I would say the biggest one that individuals get hung up on is this one of anything I can drive home is in order to receive points, you have to have at least 6 fry, at least 60 days old post-hatch. They cannot be eggs that you obtain from somebody else. It has to be an actual fish that you raised up. You spawn that fish, you obtain the eggs from that fish, raise them up in order to obtain this criteria. Same thing, obviously, with live bears. So on and so forth. I want to thank you guys very much for hanging out. If you guys enjoy this content, you go ahead and you hit the subscribe button if you want to see more educational content coming out here in the future. And to get any notifications for future live streams, to hit that notification bell and select all for all notifications. And with that being said, you guys, as always, stay encouraged. Keep on keeping on. Happy fishing. And we'll talk to you guys right back here on the next one.